In the spring of 1649, the Digger movement revealed a strange and unexpected manifestation of the democratic spirit in England where social agitation had been unknown for a century. Gerard Winstanley was the leader at the sudden outbreak of social discontent, and his Digger movement was supposed to end this discontent and all other miseries of the time by getting rid of enclosures of common lands, and allowing people to plough these lands and waste spaces, that all may feed upon the crops of the earth, and the burden of poverty be removed. Little is known of Winstanley, and the movement was short-lived. The Diggers never threatened the safety of the Commonwealth government, for Winstanley's social doctrine included the non-resistance principles that later found exponents in the Society of Friends, and the agrarian revolution he preached could hardly be accomplished without force of arms. Neither the Council of State nor the Republican Army had time or patience for Winstanley's schemes, and the Diggers were dispersed with little trouble, but Winstanley's religious teaching was to exercise considerable influence in the world when George Fox became its preacher, and his social teaching on the land question has thousands of disciples in Great Britain today. Gerard Winstanley was born in Lancashire in 1609. He seems to have settled in London as a small trader and to have lost what money he had in business so that he was obliged to accept of the goodwill of friends to live a country life. In December 1648, Winstanley issued the earliest of the Digger publications. Here, with a good deal of mystical religious phrasing, the author explains that when he was in a trance the message came to him. Winstanley proclaims his calling and unfolded his agrarian proposals. And when the Lord doth show unto me the place and manner, how he will have us that are called common people work upon the common lands, I will then go forth and declare it by my action, to eat my bread by the sweat of my brow, looking upon the land as freely mine as another's. In April, 1649, Winstanley and his friends judged, the time was ripe for making a start to get rid of this evil. The Council of State, but a few months old, and much occupied with dangers in Scotland and Ireland, was suddenly informed of the strange activities of a disorderly and tumultuous sort of people by one Henry Sanders, of Walton-upon-Thames. Sanders' testimony affirmed that there was one Everard, once of the army but was cashiered, who termeth himself a prophet, and two more, all living at Cobham, came to St. George's Hill in Surrey, and began to dig and sowed the ground with parsnips, carrots, and beans. On Friday last they came again, between 20 and 30, and wrought all day at digging. They invite all to come in and help them, and promise them meat, drink, and clothes. It is feared they have some design in hand. The date of this information was April 16, and Bradshaw, the President of the Council, at once asked General Fairfax to disperse the people so met, and to prevent the like for the future, that a malignant and disaffected party may not under colour of such ridiculous people have any opportunity to rendezvous themselves in order to do a greater mischief. Fairfax sent Captain John Gladman to attend to the matter, and Gladman set up a meeting between the General and the Diggers. The interview between Fairfax and Winstanley and Everard took place on April 20, and Everard explained that the Diggers did not intend to meddle with anyone's property nor to break down any enclosures, but only to meddle with what was common and untilled, and to make it fruitful. Fairfax evidently decided that the movement was not so alarming as the Council of State had represented, for Winstanley and his Diggers resumed their work, and at the end of May, Fairfax, with the officers of the army, paid a visit to St. George's Hill. Winstanley returned sober answers to the inquiries of Fairfax, though they gave little satisfaction, if any at all, in regard of the strangeness of their action. Encouraged by Fairfax's kindness and moderation, Winstanley appealed to him in June against the interference of the local landowners, and getting no response, publishes an appeal to the House of Commons against his arrest for trespass by the Lords of Manors in Surrey. The House of Commons, occupied with state matters, turned an indifferent ear to Winstanley's complaint, and the leader of the Diggers sent a watchword to the City of London and the army, telling the wrongs the Diggers suffered at the hands of the law for digging upon the common, how they were fined in damages at £10 a man, with costs at 29 shillings and a penny. In the spring of 1650 an attempt was made to extend the digging propaganda, for the planting of St. George's Hill was doomed, and some of Winstanley's disciples made a tour through the Mid-England region, settling down at last on some waste ground near Wellingborough. Here they were very soon arrested by a local justice of the peace. The Council of State ordered their prosecution, and the movement was suppressed. Of Winstanley's future, when the days of the digging were over, nothing seems to be known. Only one pamphlet is issued by him after 1650, an open letter to Oliver Cromwell, February, 1652. With this final manifesto on the land question, and on the whole social question, as he saw it, Gerard Winstanley disappears from history. As to Winstanley's claim on behalf of the people to the common lands, the advantage of possession of these lands was realized by the landowners in the 18th century, and from 1760 to 1830 more than 1,000 Acts of Parliament were passed for enclosing these lands.